So let's get started. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about, I'm going to first talk about the 3-5 corner, as it's a less commonly used corner move. And if we don't know the right Joseki to play, we could be tricked easily. So, and while I want to talk about the 3-5 move, I would also like to use the 4-4 start point corner as a baseline reference, because in the past lectures we have covered quite a few of those Joseki, and I just want to put them like side by side for the baseline comparison. So in short, if there's anything that I want you to take away from this lecture, is that just don't play the 3-5 move. And also don't play the 5-4 move, because neither of those moves do a good job defending against a 3-3 invasion, okay? So with that in mind, let's see what's gonna happen if black plays a 3-3 invasion. So here, white has a few options. So a knight's move is like the typical shape move to, sorry. I don't know why, but I somehow lost my chat. Okay, anyway. So the knight's move is the typical move for enclosing your opponent and building a moyo for your lower side. Attachment would kind of also work. And a pincer move like this, a one space pincer against this 3-3 invasion, is also possible if you just want a chaotic fight. So let's first talk about the most simple, straightforward one. So if you play like this, the AI recommendation is really, really simple. First of all, you play a really terrible, like exchange, because in the past, my teacher always said that, oh, don't push against the knight's move. It's bad exchange. But in this case, the AI just, yeah, I'd say this is, even though that it's in the past it's thought of a bad exchange, AI actually prefers this. And later on, I'll explain why. But anyway, this is the AI recommended variation, locally speaking. So now black crawled 3 times on the 3rd line, and his corner is alive. He can already tanuki. So that's that for this really simple 3-3 invasion Joseki. Okay, so now let's look at the baseline Joseki. Baseline Joseki that's comparable to the left side is like this. Okay, so this is like the AI recommended 3-3 invasion Joseki if white really wants to develop the lower side. Okay, and if you want to compare these two, you can immediately tell that, oh, black's head here is on the 3rd line, black's head here is on the 2nd line. So obviously black is doing better here on the left. And not to mention, black has a really big one space jump that could allow him to develop the left side or just claim the left side potentially. Whereas here, there's no such big move, right? Black cannot play like a 2nd line one space jump, and because it's not even big, yeah. So just in terms of black's territorial position, potential to develop the side territory, we can clearly see that the lower left corner, black is a lot superior, okay? And in terms of the aji around the corner, so here white has say black played somewhere else. Here white has like maybe a follow-up here. But even after this, black can still tanuki. Black is not going to die in the corner. So here, this is basically just a really big, I'd say it's a really big endgame move for white, but it's still gote, okay? And yeah, white gets a really big go to endgame move. Here, on the other hand, white gets something that's really interesting because of this cut. And if black captures a stone, white can actually initiate a ko, right? So this is pretty scary because this ko would basically just kill black's entire corner. So at this situation, if if white plays here and black does not extend, then his only option is to capture. Then white can start this kind of ko, right? So you'll be fighting over this ko, and that's, I'd say that is quite threatening to black's eye space. So basically, what this means is that yeah, the corner has pretty terrible aji, whereas this corner, white just has a big endgame move that is gote. So that's another aspect that that makes the lower right joseki the 4-4 superior to white's 3-5 corner move. Okay, so in terms of territory speaking, or in terms of aji, it just makes more sense to play the 4-4 point as opposed to a 3-5 point when it comes to dealing with the 3-3 invasion. Okay, so I'd say based on the argument, or based on the analysis of both the territory and the aji, I'd say that the 5-3 point is not good. If you, yeah, it's just not good. So this is the very, very basic analysis where we compare it to like a baseline joseki with the 4-4 point. So let's cover some tricky stuff that we might encounter when we play a 3-3 point. So I'd say if you are white and you're playing and you're giving black some handicaps, if black plays the 3-3 point, I'd say white should definitely try to create a chaotic scenario in which you will basically start a fight. Because yeah, I mean, your best bet of beating a weaker opponent is actually, you start a fight here. So here, say that if white plays, yeah, I mean, you could probably just start fighting like this, and then black has to somehow run out, and yeah, something like this. So here, a typical sequence for white to continue would probably be like something like extending, and then black can defend this by this push and cut by playing here first, and then white probably will have to crawl a few times. Here, even extending is okay. And then here you can see how white is gaining something on the left side, possibly can take the lower side. Black gains a nice shape running out. So this result is, I'd say, good enough for black, because after all, white did lose all of the corner territory, and actually white kind of owes a move to play an extension here, whereas black already ran out and can potentially develop a good influence in the center. So yeah, this is just like a typical fighting sequence that's slightly better for black. So if we were to look at this move, so in the past, I want to point out that in the past, humans have always recommended this attachment whenever the cross cuss is good And usually that condition happens whenever the ladder is favorable for black. So for example, right now the ladder is good for black. What would happen is that white could extend and then black can play this Atari. And then here you're going to see why the ladder matters. So normally speaking, black would want to extend and force white to crawl on the second line, but it really depends on the ladder, because here white is now threatening capturing these two black stones or these two black stones with ladder. So again, because the ladder is good for black, black is not going to get, white cannot play this way. So, and therefore, yeah, in the past, humans would think that, okay, this is how you should play if the ladder is good. But AI actually recommends now for white to just keep crawling until you get 6 stones on the second line. And then that is when, that is when white can start killing the entire corner. So let's just look at this real quick. So note that after your opponent has 6 stones on the second line, if you really, really want to kill your opponent, you absolutely need to bend. Otherwise, your opponent can just extend once more and then descend to make 2 eyes on the second line. So the moment when black plays this bend, white needs to make eyes. Before she does that, she could take some Sente moves. And that, sorry, I didn't mean to make eyes, but I mean that white needs to kill black's corner in order to live. But before she does that, white can take some Sente moves and then come back to kill black. And if you count the liberties, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So white basically will win this capturing race. And yeah. So, and also white took pretty good influence for the lower side. So this is not great for black, since AI doesn't like losing the corner and giving white good influence to develop the lower side. In this case, even though the ladder is good for black, AI does not like this attachment very much. And if a human player decides to play this tiger's mouth to kind of like fix the issue of basically fix the corner issue. In the past, most Go players would probably just play the shape move, right? And then here, black can just easily live a comfortable corner. But nowadays, with the AI analysis, I'd say the next move was quite shocking. Katago actually prefers this Atari, turning black into really bad shape. And if black just connects, white once again does not play the shape move. White just plays a tiger's mouth and just basically forces black to run out. And it's quite interesting, because when white plays this diagonal move, black's corner has only like half an eye, so it'll be a fight. Yeah, so it's quite interesting that AI would recommend to just completely give up on blocking this side and invite your opponent to just run out. And here, if black just directly run out, then white obviously just takes the corner. I mean, captures the stone. And if black plays the ko, then black's corner has really bad Aji. Basically, black has a burden, and he will owe at least 2 moves to completely fix the corner Aji. And so basically white can start tenuking playing elsewhere. So basically, whenever black plays the attachment, white has interesting counterattacks. It's not necessarily super detrimental to black, but you can see that the easiest way to avoid any sort of complication is really just play like this. And if your opponent extends, then you can extend like this. If you want sente, you can crawl once more, or you can just play a one space jump. And either way, the result is it's quite favorable for black, because compared to the baseline where black invades a 3/3 here, black was always going to be pushed down to the second line crawling. Whereas, yeah, black's position and territory is just much better here. So I hope that explains why AI prefers this ugly move. It's a like a bad shape move, but it's really practical. It gets rid of all kinds of complicated variations. Yeah, it's very effective. So now let's talk about some trickier stuff. Here, white can actually choose to hane. And as mentioned previously, when you see the shape, this is like the easiest way to resolve any sort of the situation. And here black's corner already run out. It's really comfortable. White's influence has a defect, and not to mention that the ladder is good for black, so black literally can just cut white's wall. But even the peep is already really annoying to white, because if black can ever say white play elsewhere, if black can ever get peep, then basically white got an empty triangle, and her wall is not very efficient, and this peeping stone can end up being a really helpful reduction stone against white's influence. So white's wall is, I'd say it's very not impressive, leaving such terrible cutting or peeping aji. So I guess the only thing white can be proud of is that white has a really nice endgame Tetsuji like this. So now, as you can see, there's a really severe cut. I'd say in endgame, this is a pretty nice Sente endgame sequence for white to play. Yeah, but in the beginning of the game, black can just go ahead and tenuki play elsewhere, somewhere else. And when white cuts, black can just connect. When white Ataris, now it's quite interesting. Katago actually recommends you to extend once. And I hope the intention is going to be quite clear to you guys soon. That is, the moment Katago extended here, because what he's saying is that this entire white group, even though white spent so many moves, is still not alive if black ever gets a move placed here. Like, for example, if black ever gets to split here, yeah, if black ever gets a split, and yeah, white plays somewhere else, yeah, if black gets a move like here at the diagonal, actually black would probably play the Atari, black would probably play Atari first, and then the diagonal, then you can see that this entire group is not even alive. So white spent too many moves, even capturing 2 stones, but her group is still potentially not alive. So I thought that was quite interesting, that Katago would recommend extending the stone, just to make sure that it won't be easy for white to live if he ever gets this this peep against white's entire group. Anyway, it's capturing these two stones is actually, I'd say, not super huge in the beginning of the game. So yeah, during the opening of the game is actually okay for black to lose some stones here. So this is a Sente endgame, only at the endgame stage. Don't play it so early. But other than that, White's Wall is really not, there's nothing to be proud of regarding White's Wall. It's full of defects, I'd say. So here, there's one thing that black absolutely should not do, that is to capture stones. So here, black can actually capture this stone, and the result is going to be, I'd say, pretty bad for black. So to capture this stone, it would require black to play this tiger's mouth. So now it's like black just got tricked because white has a really nice sequence of giving up two stones. And it starts off with oh, sorry. Oh, Oliver, sorry, I missed your message. Why couldn't white play at f6 after the peep? Sorry. Okay, I need to pay more attention to the group chat. Okay, anyway. So here, white's best sequence to give up the two stones is peep first, Atari turn black into ugly shape, and then white extend here. So here, black stones are about to die, so he definitely needs to play a move. And the most obvious move is to just, capture two stones. But here, white's Hane is Sente. So here, black once again captured two stones. And then this means white defended her corner territory by giving up two stones in Sente. Not to mention, white also got an extra move to have like a really nice wall. White has reached all the way up to the 6th line, whereas the black's influence, well, it's just here. It's just the 4th line, and this is a really ugly empty triangle. So if white can get this kind of shape, it's I'd say it's pretty good for white. White got Sente, got influence, got the corner territory. Yeah, this result is pretty good for white. So the complicated thing is that when black decides to Hane, should black play e7 to build up his influence? E7 to build up his influence. Okay, so so right now it's white's turn to play. So, white can play elsewhere. So you're wondering if black should play e7 here to build influence afterwards? I'd say definitely not, because first of all, there's a shape issue. This is an empty triangle. Usually whenever you see an empty triangle, there's usually a much better move that you could have played. So in this case, say black absolutely needs to develop increase his influence. If black has to play, at least play a 1-space jump, right? At least. Or if you want, you can play even higher. But a jump is much better than an empty triangle. And the reason for that is because you can evaluate influence by simply just counting how many lines you have extended into the center. If you play the 1-space jump, you're at the 6th line. If you play the empty triangle, however, you're only at the 5th line. So yeah, whenever you want influence, count the lines how deep you have reached into your center, and then you will quickly realize that the one space jump is much better than the empty triangle. Okay. So, okay, we were here. And I said that A is where white can just save the corner, develop good influence for lower side. So now black tries to create some trouble for white, basically try to counterattack. So say here, black defends this cutting point. Then basically it's like a semi-eye, right? Black's trying to kill white. So let's see what's gonna happen to white then. So white makes a few exchanges, turn black into a really ugly shape. And then here, the key to fight this semi-eye for white is this Hane. And then thanks to this Hane, white secured her eye space and black has no eyes right now. So now black tries to extend his liberties to fight white, but here, white can be very unforgiving and just start taking out eye space and liberties. Black now throws in to short white's liberty, and black can block here, white connects. And then here, you can see that white already has one eye. Black has yet to make another eye, so if black doesn't want to die, he actually needs to make a seki by making an eye, okay? And then now you can see that this is a mutual liberty, and yeah, if black doesn't want to die, he should never fill this mutual liberty. And you would, so now you can see that it is white's turn, right? So white got sente, white has a wall, what should white do? Well, white should probably maximize the value of the wall by putting pressure against this black group that is very heavy, it doesn't have eyes, doesn't have extension, it's pretty bad. And then keep pressuring black, and then now you can see white build a huge wall. White got a nice extension point. This is just, I'd say this is just great for white, okay? And yeah, this is a seki situation. Black would never want to fill up the mutual liberty here. Okay, let's go back here. So here, black can make things actually a little more complicated by playing a tiger's mouth. And once again, the key point to fight this group in the semi-eye is this Hane. And black wants to extend his liberties, but white will just block him. So here, the best attempt to mess with white in this corner situation is actually to create a ton of aji with this clan. But unfortunately, white's group has a ton of liberties. So much that, yeah, even right now, like there's no effective way of netting white's group because white has an extra liberty on the inside. So right now, black is in trouble. Say black tries to kill or attempt to kill white. Yeah, even right now, white can just go ahead, throw in Atari. And once again, you'll see that white already has one eye. So we know that, but black does not, right? So basically black's best bet of surviving here is to make this exchange and throw in. And here, black still needs to continue to short white's liberty just to create a seki situation. And this is really horrible for black, right? Because black is alive in seki, but white has incredible thickness. Black has incredible, I'd say, heaviness and lack of eye shape. So if white can play like this, then white is just, dominating the game by attacking black's weak group. Yeah. probably black would need to play something like this. And yeah, black is just running. Black is not doing anything productive here. So basically, the moment when black clamps and try to fight this, fight white's group, here the best thing that black could do is actually extend his liberty by playing like this. And this is quite an interesting move because note that white cannot play here. White cannot short this liberty because if white does, then it will be, you know, a ladder or a net, you know, yeah. So black, by playing this move, actually helps extending liberties. Now it's like 5 against 5. So now white starts, basically has to start killing black. And the moment when black descends here, this has turned into a ko situation. We'll be fighting over this ko. And let's see what's gonna happen. So once again, white cannot approach here, so white should play the Tari here. And you quickly realize that as we short liberties, black actually, like white gets to take the ko first, and therefore white, and there's no good ko threat for black. So black cannot fight this ko properly, basically. And here, black can even try to throw in and fight the ko. And he can just try to keep fighting the ko, but notice that after taking the ko so many times, black cannot just connect because he just doesn't have enough liberties. He will just die here, meaning that black has to leave this ko open and short the liberties from the outside. So this is quite, I'd say it's not an easy ko for black to win right away. And even if he does win, if you count all the stones that he would capture, black's territorial gain here at the lower left corner is only about like 20 points. And black did not, you know, develop any sort of significant influence. His influence only reached the 4th line. So getting only 20 points, having really bad shape, and your influence only reaches the 4th line is really not impressive. Considering how thick white is. White is 100% alive, and white has the 6th line influence, and has really good potential on the lower side. So even though there's a ko, it's actually really difficult for black to play efficiently here. So that was probably the most complicated variation that would happen when black decide to make the tiger's mouth. So in conclusion, if black connects at A, it's going to be a seki where white gets sente and white can build a huge wall. And if black's going to play the tiger's mouth, it would be a ko, but white gets incredible thickness and influence, and black would actually have to spend, you know, many extra moves just to kill white. So, and finally, here, if black doesn't like those results, the connection is actually probably the most complicated variation. And say white, if white decides to use the same old Tetsuji here, there will be an issue. That's right now, white does not have this exchange, right? Previously, when white played the Atari, black, had that tiger's mouth here. So basically, it's like a white extending her influence and versus black making an empty triangle kind of exchange. But now we don't have that exchange. So this is actually not very good for white. And actually, Katako prefers a white winning rate right now is probably like 40-something%. So I know it's just an exchange of one move, but it makes a difference, quite a huge difference, because you expand your influence by an extra line and your opponent played like an empty triangle that really doesn't do much at all. So it's because of this little exchange that Katako rejects this kind of this way of playing this locally. And here, Katako's refutation is probably the most complicated. So here, Katako is telling white to just connect, forcing black to bend. And when black Kane's here, white clamps and runs out to extend liberties. So this will turn out to be quite a difficult semi problem. So first of all, say when black jumps here, white starts to try to kill black, say with this move. This basically just doesn't work, and because black is going to start by hunting on this side, and if white tries to extend liberties by continue crawling, black can just throw in and connect. And when white connects, then you can see that, yeah, white will just die. So just clamping is not enough to extend the liberties. What white, so say white tries to improve her position by playing this instead. So this makes an eye, it prevents all the throw-in, all the squeeze that would happen. So here, it's really interesting because the best thing that black can do in this situation is just give up the cornerstones. And let's look at how the AI recommended giving up these cornerstones. Say white plays here, short liberties, and black extends, and white extends, oops, and black Atari, white Atari. And here you can see that, first of all, it's black Sente, and black, what black has accomplished is that he just got a free wall on the left side. And this wall is in a really good relationship with this 4-4 point. So how do we know that capturing, giving up these cornerstones is actually good for black? So a really easy way for analyzing this board position is to just kind of split the board in half. If you look at the right side, it's basically black has a stone here, white has a stone here. It's quite even. So the right half of the board, it's like, we can say it's 50-50, but the left half of the board, you can see that black is controlling a lot more of the board space than white is. White is kind of cramped all over in this corner, and the territorial gain is probably only around 20-ish points, right? So, whereas black's next move is going to be right here, because with this move, black defends the corner plus basically it maximizes the potential of the lower side. So here, basically Katago thinks that the corner that white gained is too small compared to the influence and potential that black can get on the left side of the board. So even though this situation, with this descend, white was able to kill the corner, it's still not good enough for white. So what Katago recommend here was to just keep extending until black, it creates a cutting point on black. So keep extending your liberties until you leave really bad aji for your opponent, and then you go back and start killing the corner. So here, if black tries to counterattack white, let's just look at this semi-I real quick. Throw in, yeah, we're just shorting liberties here. So now black obviously has to connect, and then you can immediately see that, okay, this is just going to be a ko, right? So here, what white can do is first leave some aji and then start the ko. And white can do this because white has local ko threats. You know, black cannot just capture this and let white run out, because then these stones are about to die, or these 3 stones are about to die. So this kind of ko is extremely disadvantageous for black because he has no good ko threats. So at this point, when white throws in, black captures, black has to block, white captures, and black just doesn't have ko threat. He can only defend, get rid of the really terrible aji, and here, before white finish up the ko, white should obviously take advantage of black's defect, and then finish up the ko. And here, you can see this chunk of black stones are completely not productive, plus there's a cutting point here, which is really annoying because when black tries to develop a moyo, white can just throw in some ladder breaker wherever black plays. Yeah, white is just aiming at this cut. Yeah, so basically black's wall is full of defects, full of bad aji, and it's super easy to invade black's moyo. So that's that for this really complicated variation in which Katago recommended that white just keeps extending on the second line. So there are other more complicated variations, but in general, the moral of the story is that just play simple, then you are doing great. Don't play complicated things. Yeah, because your opponent might be able to, yeah, just don't capture the 2 stones, just play the double hane, and yeah, you're going to do great in this 3-3 invasion. So let's, oops. Okay, so let's look at this. Other than a nice move, white can choose to play the attachment. And here, black's best response is quite typical. When your opponent attaches, you play hane. And here, if white plays the extension backwards, here black can just hane this way. And since the ladder is no good, there's no way white can cut this way, right? Because white can't even ladder this. So white can only cut from the outside, which gives black a panuki on the outside. And white's territory is just small. And this joseki we can actually compare to the 3-3 invasion joseki. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the 3-3 invasion joseki where white plays double hane, gives black a panuki, but white capture probably a decent sized corner, plus white stone is much higher. It's on the 5th line. Whereas white here, she only has a 4th line in stone. Her influence is not great at all. And her territory is also less than, this position. And in both cases, black has really good follow-up here, extending. So, and not to mention, black actually has one more row of potential on the left side, on the side of the board than this situation. So by comparing these two Joseki, I hope you can see that. This one is better for white. Certainly there's some aji when black extends his stone downward, but otherwise white has more territory, better influence, and black has less in, potential. Yeah, basically the 4/4 point is better than this pattern. And if white doesn't like that, white can choose to extend this way. And here black just needs to extend. Don't bump here to give white some extra influence on the side. Just directly extend here. And if white extends here, Katago recommends that black just violently cut white into two pieces. Because black's corner is already alive, but white's liberties are short and white owes an extension on both sides. So it's like with just one move, black played here, the cut, white owes two moves on either side. So this is really painful for white. And if white defends there, then black can play this Hane, and white still owes a move for her 3 stones. And now black can either Tenuki or continue to fight in the center. These 2 stones, you don't have to run it out immediately. Say later on, black can use these 2 stones by looking forward to a shoulder hit here or shoulder hit there as a way to reduce white's potential. So basically, at this point, if your opponent extends, you can just go ahead and cut him and just completely destroy white's potential whatsoever. And therefore, white should probably bump here. And here, black can just defend. White extends. And if black wants to, he can extend once more, and then white Sente lift in the corner, and he can Tenuki elsewhere. Later on, obviously, black has a nice peep, a shape move against this group. Yeah. And so, okay, so let's look at another weird corner move. Say white played like this, the 5/4 point move. So here, once again, actually the 5/4 point is considered to be even worse than the 5/3 point, because when black invades here, there's really no move. There is no good move that white can put pressure on this 3/3 stone. So I'm going to give you the seemingly most aggressive move, the attachment. But here, this is probably one of the worst moves that white could play locally, because black has a really nice clamp, and no matter what white does, it's going to be a really bad result. So if white connects, first of all, the shape is just really inefficient for white. And second of all, white can't, ladder is no good for white. So white can, once again, only cut on the outside, giving black a Ponuki on the outside. And here in the future, there's still some aji on the outside. Yeah, white is not necessarily alive here. Yeah, well, especially when black splits the lower side of the board. And so here, if white doesn't like connecting because it makes a really bad shape, if white extends, then I'd say it's even worse, because when black cuts, no matter what white plays, say here, then this result is just, here black can actually even play this Atari, but if you don't, okay, fine. Even this is a good enough result for black. And here, if white plays like this, then black can just connect. And once again, black can certainly start this code in the beginning of the game. But even if you don't, yeah, even this is already really, really good for black. And even if the ladder is not good for black, say white play like this, the corner is 100% alive, and even if the ladder is no good, black can just block here in Tanuki. If he's interested in developing the left side, sure, he can play a knight's move. But black is in a pretty safe position because white has really bad aji. Say, before white can attack black effectively, white must defend here, and giving black the opportunity to like just play an extension. So regardless of the ladder situation, in general, the 3/3 invasion and this clamp is going to be very, very good for black. So this seemingly really aggressive move is just really bad. And white's the best local move is actually the 5/3 point, which we've gone over, that black can just simply play like this, and black is doing just great. So there are some other variations. For example, white can play the Kosumi, which is really strong. Doesn't show any defect. But black can just, well, first of all, black can just Tanuki because white cannot kill this corner easily in any way. For example, in this situation, this is already a ko for life for black, right? Yeah, this is already a ko for life. Black actually doesn't even have to live in the corner. Black can choose to use the 3/3 stones as a way to help his future invasions if he's interested in. Yeah, basically there's a ton of really bad aji around the corner. Like even now, white actually owes a move. White has to like defend here somewhere, otherwise black can save his cornerstone. So yeah, with the diagonal, I say Tanuki would be the best punishment against this. But if you really have to play, you can always just play a knight's move. And finally, white. I think another really aggressive move that white can play is a kick and then knight's move. And when if black plays attachment, then white will play Hane, and then actually in this case, black can crosscut. Once again, the ladder is good for black. So if white extends, black can just punish white like this, and just keep extending on the second line, and black does not need to worry about this sort of ladder, because this ladder is, yeah, it doesn't work for white. So this would be a great punishment. And here, if white plays like this, here there's a really interesting Tetsuji that black can use. Atari, and then don't play like this, and just because white can just seal you into the corner, but black can play the knight's move here, and obviously white cannot cut black, right? So what white can do is to only like just defend her issues, and yeah, just capture black stones. But black has completely neutralized or prevented white from getting any sort of significant territory. And black's corner is really alive. It's really happy. It's running out to the side. I'd say black is pretty efficient in this situation. And if all of these variations are too complicated, then here even black playing a knight's move is a good enough result. And later on, you're aiming at like this kind of cut, because ladder is no good for white. So in general, there is no good way for white to play when black invades the 3-3, given her very poorly chosen position at the 4-5 point. So I hope, yeah, I hope this kind of explains why these kind of weird corner moves, the 5-3 or the 5-4 point, they are just not recommended by AI. And if you play it, you're losing like about 3 to 2% every time you play a corner. So that is, in the beginning, white is about 57-ish% win rate. But after you play 2 moves, you're about like 50% win rate. So this is, yeah, pretty bad. So I hope that you guys will learn from this and not play like this. And if your opponent does play like this, I hope that you would find the 3-3 invasion a pretty effective way of like punishing these kind of weird corner moves.